Hello, my name's Deirdre Quinellen and I would like to welcome you to our presentation about the Bachelor of Communication, Journalism and Public Relations. Before I get started, I would like to recognise the various traditional lands on which our campuses are located, and we acknowledge the land, waterways and airways of the Kulin Nation, Mara peoples. We acknowledge the elders, past, present and emerging, and all of the lands on which we work, study and live, and we pay our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Okay, so as I said, my name is Deirdre Quinellen, and I'm going to be talking to you about two of our courses, the Bachelor of Communication Public Relations and the Bachelor of Communication Journalism, which are two separate degrees within our communication suite. And hopefully as a result of this session, I'll answer some of your questions, but maybe what I say will also prompt some questions that you might like to ask in our live chat Q&A sessions. One immediately after this, which is focused particularly on our courses, but there will be other opportunities throughout the day also for you to engage in live chat. So welcome, a warm welcome. And what we're going to look at in this presentation is aspects around the course that are going to help you think about what's the right course for you and why choose Deakin's Bachelor of Communication. So important to that, we'll be discussing the course structure, looking at some career opportunities, as well as thinking about work integrated learning, which is a term that we use for career direction learning that helps you get ready for your jobs and the workplace after you graduate. And related to that, we also have internship opportunities, and again, thinking about some of the facilities that our students work in. You'll see some of the images throughout the presentation, which give you a little bit of a sense of the landscape, the environment, the classrooms in which you'll be working. When you attend a physical open day, you get a chance to get a sense of the vibe of the place and what Deakin's all about. In an online environment, so maybe some of the pictures might give you a little bit of a sense of who we are and what we are. Then again, we'll conclude at the end with just a little bit of an overview and some information about how to apply, entry requirements, and then you'll be able to pop on over for any questions that you might like to ask me and my colleague Dr. Christy Hess, who will be joining us in the Q&A session. So why choose Deakin's Bachelor of Communication? Well, I guess a key thing that you want to be thinking about is how are you going to position yourself competitively against all of the other graduates that are going to be out there in the workplace at the same time as you. And so one of the things that degrees are known for, and the thing that we really pay attention to is maintaining that currency. We engage with industry partners, we review our courses annually because we're mindful we're operating in a period of absolutely rapid change and we need to be preparing you for jobs maybe as yet unseen, unknown, because our communication areas are changing so rapidly. So part of the reason is we're getting you to the point where there will be, you'll be prepared and you'll be ready for those changing environments. Information distribution and response times, as it says there, they're speeding up. The world is getting faster and faster. And so organisations are looking for students and graduates who are really competent in their communication skills, who are good critical thinkers, problem solvers within that communication field. And so in order to prepare you as well to develop those skills, you'll not only be doing sort of authentic assessment, real world assessment, as you go through from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, you're also going to, all of our courses have those on-the-job training through internship and getting out there. And there are also all sorts of other opportunities that you can take advantage of, which are going to help get you job ready. And help you develop an understanding of how you can also talk about yourself to future employers. So we want you, as it says there, to graduate with experience, industry knowledge, contacts that help you set up that successful career. But importantly, we want you to graduate with confidence so that you feel comfortable and ready to go out and meet the challenges post, when you're ready to graduate and embark on that exciting next step. Okay, so what do our courses look like and how do we go about delivering on that promise? Well, both of our courses and all of our communication degrees are structured. We have year 1, year 2, year 3, and it's a term we use as scaffolding. It's like a house. When you build a house or a structure, you need a solid foundation. And so that's what we start in the first year. All of our courses start learning the basics. You learn the theories and the models that you need to help you operate and understand the context in which you're going to be working and communicating. So you'll learn those basic theories and models that you need to go through. And then you'll also develop some foundation skills. It's not enough just to have a head full of interesting information. What you actually also need to be able to do is to apply that knowledge. And so when we're talking about foundation skills, it's helping you bridge that theory-practice divide. So we start doing that in the first year. As I said before, we have a lot of authentic assessment, proximate assessment, which mirrors the kinds of activities that you're going to be finding and tasks you'll find in the real world once you start those jobs. But we do have, academic study is important, and theories and models and learning those things is really important. So we don't assume that you come fully bundled with all of the academic skills that you need to survive in our environment. So year 1 is about building those skills, and it may be around referencing or getting you to really think about grammar and structure and communication and how you mount an argument and defend and support an argument. Research skills, good communication is predicated on really good solid research, understanding your audience. What are their needs and their wants? What are they thinking? So those are the kinds of things that we'll start to build. We'll also introduce you in year 1 to start getting you to be thinking about your career. It's a little bit early to, when you come in year 1, to know exactly what you want to do. But we get you to start thinking about some of the ways you might recognise opportunities that are going to help you in your career, or starting, those opportunities to engage with industry, to build your networks, for you to start thinking about what do you like, what do you value, what are your skills, what are your skills gaps. So in looking at those things in year 1s, you can start to map and track them as you go through your course. And when you encounter other career direction learning units, you'll be able to build on that knowledge and that self-awareness of your own skills and knowledges. And the other thing that we do, which we think is a real strength in our degrees, we are also, we've structured them so that you will also do some cross-disciplinary study in the other communication areas. Because what people know who work within communication, there's a lot of blurring of boundaries now between public relations, journalism, advertising, digital media. And so you get a chance to look and explore some of those areas, or you might want to pick up some design skill in terms of visual communication design, and Indigenous knowledges are also important. So at level 1 and level 2, we've introduced some units there where you can go and explore Aboriginal culture and learn how they might be, learn about the culture and how you might then be able to translate that back into your professional practice. So there's lots that's going on in year 1. Then when you get to year 2, you've learned the basics. Now in year 2, you're going to start developing them. Things are going, assignments and learning and study is going to get a little bit harder. We're going to push you a little bit more as you develop those skills, and you'll keep on practicing those industry skills. You'll develop your understanding of theories and models of practice, and you'll keep going with your journey of that cross-disciplinary study in journalism, public relations. You can also pick up advertising and digital media as well in those. And so when you get a course map, and I'll talk about those a little bit further, you'll see also what other opportunities there are for you for that cross-disciplinary study. Too much to fit on a slide, so don't worry about it at this stage. That's just an example of some of the cross-disciplinary study that you can do. Then in year 3, you're getting ready. It's getting real now, because you'll be going out on your internship. You've done your internship probably at the end of year 2 before you start year 3. And then you're really going to be thinking about, how do I consolidate and get myself ready for my first job? And so we have what we call capstone units, and they sit at the top of your degree, and they draw on all the different threads of learning that you've had throughout your course. So you've got your capstone unit, you've got your internship placement, real focus on career readiness, and again, we'll get you to keep going with that cross-disciplinary study. You might finish off some of the units. So that's a little bit of an overview of what that looks like. And then, you know, I talked before about a course map to say, and each course has a course map. So at the moment you're sort of going, okay, well, that's nice. We've got year 1, we've got year 2, and we've got year 3. You know, basics, development and consolidation. So what does it actually look like? Well, you'll be able to, every course has a map like this, which will allow you to kind of figure out, what is my study going to look like across each year? So in the relation to our courses, we've got the, this one is the public relations course map, and it sets out the units that you would want to study across each trimester. So this is a typical enrolment pattern for somebody who's going to start in trimester 1 in their first year. They would come in and they would do our core communication and everyday life unit, which is ACC 100. And this is really about introducing you to the, you know, I talked before about theories and models of communication, and this is where you get presented with quite a few that help you understand media and communication in the context and the environment in which you'd be either practicing journalism or public relations or advertising or digital media. But because this one is for the public relations course map, obviously Introduction to Public Relations is a core unit. You have to do it. Because, and this is where we introduce you to the key knowledges and practices in public relations, and you learn about strategy and planning in a nice, gentle way. Then you get to choose from one of the course electives. And so remember, I talked before about cross-disciplinary study. Well, this is what we mean. So here you might decide to go, look, I'm really interested in journalism. I'm going to pick up ALJ 111 as a first year journalism unit. I might want to do an advertising unit, or I might want to pick up one of the Indigenous knowledges units that Deirdre talked about. So this is where you would go to the list A, and you can look through them and go, great, what's offered in trimester 1? Pick the ones that you like and you pop it in there, and then you've started to meet part of your course requirements. And then, and this is the exciting part too, which I haven't talked about so far, we also have now degrees, free electives where you can go and pick whatever you like. It's whatever you want to do. So you might decide, public relations students often quite like to do some marketing or business units, or psychology is also really interesting and popular for public relations students. Or they might just, you know, maybe you're interested in international relations. Public relations, international relations are two subject matters. Maybe you want to pick up on a language. So the world is your oyster. I could sit here all day and talk about all of those free electives, but it's good because it's important to have electives and free electives in any degree, because we don't just want blinkered communication professionals. You need to go out and explore the world, and that's what electives will allow you to do. You know, you've got those 6 electives that you can go and choose from. So anyway, this course map will give you a little bit of a sense of what you need to be doing. You've got, and it will go through trimester 2, year 2, trimester 1, year 2, trimester 2. So you'll see you're carrying on with public relations units, media relations strategy, which is a core area of practice within public relations. We also believe that ethical communication is an important part of any public relations practices. Journalism and public relations have codes of practice. This is an accredited degree by the Public Relations Institute of Australia, so they expect high standards from their practitioners. And so it's in units like this that you will learn about codes of ethics and good standards, and how to recognise an ethical dilemma. So it's not just about being ethical, it's also sometimes the hard part is recognising those dilemmas. Then you've got room for another course elective, and so it goes through until you get, and remember I talked about the capstone? This is 1 year, so year 3, trimester 2 would typically be, this is your final year. You've got your capstone unit, which is public relations campaigns, and that's where you're going out and you're working with a real client. You work in a team, you go out, you locate a client, you diagnose a communication or a relationship problem they have with a key stakeholder group or a target public, and you guys work together to diagnose the problem and come up with a solution for them, which you then present. And in ASS 321, the communication internship B, you've been out on your internship by now, and then you come back and you're putting it all together, you're looking at everything that you've learned and you're going, what does it mean? And then you're looking at dusting off the way you identify yourself and your professional identity, develop your LinkedIn profile, get your CV up to scratch, start thinking about those networking opportunities, so that when you complete, you are absolutely ready to go. And so here you see year 1, we introduce students to news reporting. In that unit, you're going to be producing real journalism. You start there. You'll see also, like the PR students, you'll be doing communication in everyday life. So, because that's a core foundation unit. Remember I said that's units like that give you those important knowledges and theories that you need. But all the way through, if you go through, you will see that there is use in there that you're going to be producing news story. Year 2, once you've learnt the basics of how to put together a news story with either photos or film or audio, you'll go into video journalism in trimester 1 and audio journalism in trimester 2, and you really hone your skills in advance and become more technically adept at video and audio journalism. And you learn to do this in a way that you're not constrained by particular platforms. So it's not broadcast video or broadcast audio for radio. It can be for online, because of course this is where some of the really exciting jobs in journalism are starting to pop up in these new online areas. And so anyone who tells you that journalism is dead, they might be thinking in old school terms. The traditional newsroom is changing, but there are some pretty exciting and neat jobs coming up for you in journalism, if that's what you'd like to do. And the other really neat thing about journalism, any of the communication degrees, is that they are, you might have your heart set on being a particular type of journalist, but these degrees will actually take you beyond journalism into government roles, into research roles. So that's one of the things that you'll also learn about in our career direction learning, is how to recognise, just because your degree says journalism or PR, you'll learn to recognise jobs that may not use those terms, but which you are well qualified for. So, and that you'll be able to apply for. So it broadens your horizons in terms of what your options are. And we've got lots of, this is just one little story from one of our recent graduates, Mitch, who did a Bachelor of Communication Journalism. And again, these are the positive stories that our students tell us, that they feel equipped, they feel confident, they forge really good relationships with us as teachers, so that they do feel optimistic and positive about their futures. And they get that sense from us as well, because we're also really passionate and we know that there are some fabulous jobs out there just waiting for students. So where do our students go? What can they do? Our graduates can find promising roles such as, and this is for public relations, and public relations can be sometimes a very hard area of practice to define, because there are so many different types of jobs that you can end up in and the degree can prepare you for. And it may be that you end up working in business, for-profit organisations or charities or not-for-profits, NGOs, those kinds of civil sector jobs. Or it may be government. A lot of PR people end up in government as media advisors, communication officers, which makes sense, because think of all the work that government has to do to communicate about the work that it's doing. So wherever organisations need communication, you probably find a PR person. And those are just some of the types of jobs, the common jobs that you might see out there. Likewise, career opportunity in in journalism. And you might, yes, and like I said before, there are specific jobs that relate to journalism, but there are more jobs beside. And if you look at the bottom, speech writers, again, journalists can often end up working in, if you have really like politics as well, you might write in that field, but you might also get into politics or work for politicians in writing speeches or researching for them. So that's why I say these degrees can take you lots of places that perhaps you hadn't thought. We have a lot of students who love to work freelance writing. Who are passionate about travel. And so travel writing, likewise sports, just, there really are lots of opportunities for journalists and journalism graduates. Now, I said before, how we get you there, how we prepare you, work integrated learning is absolutely vital and key. It's not enough in the, when I went through, we did our degree and then we were sort of kind of out in university and sort of left wondering, gosh, what am I going to do now? And so we're much more wise now about preparing graduates for the workforce, and it starts with what we call WIL, work integrated learning. And there are lots of opportunities, whether, internship, which is compulsory in our degrees, but we also have opportunities for developing mentoring, volunteer opportunities, which is a really good way to build your CV. But also a little difficult at the moment, so I'm not going to emphasise that too much, but travel. We do study tours, overseas internships. So if things ever return to normal, these things become possible as well. There are so many. Where do our interns go? Look, these are just some. There are too many places that our students go to fill them up. So it might be sporting, news organisations. You can see we've got Edelman, so advertising agencies, PR agencies, sports clubs, not-for-profits, as you can see, Save the Children. Pretty much our students are out there in a lot of organisations, and we have some pretty good relationships with many of these industries, and we also have some industry partnerships. So lots of opportunities there. Facilities. Remember I said at the outset we'd have a little look at the facilities. Normally on an open day you'd come and feel the vibe and look around. Unfortunately you can't do that, so we're giving you a few pictures here. Not ideal, but really it's just to show you that our students are able to work in really neat spaces that equip them. So in other words, if you're going to be practicing journalism and filming, you need to have access to those facilities. So, it may be you need access to a green screen studio. Newsroom, it's set up in a way that that students can practice what it's like to work in a real newsroom. We have in the third year, you'll get a chance to write for our student newspaper or online, shouldn't call it newspaper, our online news portal, Describe, which is really exciting, and so students are publishing live to the world. They're working in a newsroom to deadlines, under pressure, and editorial teams, just like they'd encounter in the real world. In the Media Lab at Burwood, again, we've got these lovely little intimate spaces where students can do their group work, can do their strategy and their planning. They've got access to Wi-Fi, so they can get out there and do their desk research. We've got the film and television studio. All of these things are available for students. We also have cameras available when they're needed. So there's lots of things going on in terms of facilities that help you to complete the assignments that we're going to set you. Now, so that's really a bit of a whirlwind summary of our courses. So how to apply? Okay, so if you're non-year 12, then you can go through the direct applications. If you're looking to enrol for trimester 3, there's some dates there. Applications close on Sunday, November 1, or Sunday 20 if you're looking for a trimester 21 start. Now, if you're a year 12 student, obviously you're going to be going through the VTAC application processes and of course your school will be helping and guiding you. So you apply through VTAC in September 2020 to start in trimester 1 2021. So you figure out which one works for you. Now, of course, everyone's interested in ATARs. So we do publish those. The ATAR tends to always be a little bit higher at Build because a lot more students, and really ATAR is a representation of demand. Okay, so a lot of students like to study at the Build campus, which is a metropolitan campus, but we have a lot of students at Geelong, particularly if you're coming in from a regional area and you're not that interested in a big city. Geelong is a fabulous campus, and our students who study there, there's a really high rate of satisfaction. It is a lovely place to study. All of the campuses are nice and very modern and contemporary, but I see Geelong is lovely. English, we do require a score of at least 25 in English as an additional language, or 20 in English other than an EAL subject. So those are just some of the entry requirements. You'll get access to this information through various other means, but it's just there now so that you can be thinking about it if it's of interest to you. The other thing to remember too is that there are actually multiple pathways into degrees. And so if you're thinking, well, maybe I don't have an ATAR or a recent ATAR, or I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it, and there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment around COVID and different ways of studying, that's okay. There are multiple pathways. It may be you've done a certificate in a related discipline, or maybe you've completed a diploma in any discipline, or even if you've done 50% of a diploma in a related discipline, that might be a pathway for you to qualify to apply for one of our courses. Or it may be successful completion of relevant study at an accredited higher education institution, equivalent to or at least 2 Deakin University units. So we get a lot of students coming in, maybe they've been to another university somewhere, they've completed some study, and they can then use that perhaps as a way of getting access to or entry into our courses. And there's also, sometimes we've got people who've been out there who have worked and got a lot of work experience, that they might then go, okay, well, based on that sustained work experience over a long period, 2 to 3 to 5 years, not just 6 months or a year or two, but over a sustained period with some career progression, and you go, gosh, that's worth acknowledging. So that might be a pathway. So I guess what I'm saying here, if you're not sure, if you're coming in from a non-traditional sort of VTAC pathway and you're not sure, gosh, could I get a place? Have a chat to us, and we'll be able to help you work out what you need to do if you're really keen to study. So I'm going to finish there, and I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining us and sitting through this very quick presentation. Hopefully we'll see you shortly in the live chat, and but if you've got any other questions throughout the day, then absolutely let us know through other means, or even, next week or beyond. Maybe it'll be then when you think about something. So look, I'm going to end there, and I look forward to seeing you or hearing you, your questions in the next session.